Have you seen the reporting that has come out about the South African refugees that were brought to this country? Our government is telling us people are being thoroughly vetted and they haven't done a simple fucking Twitter search. Have you never stalked someone online? Really? This reporting, go Google it. We were told that these people were thoroughly vetted, yet they couldn't do a simple search on Twitter to see some of the anti-Semitic crap that these people from South Africa were posting. We keep being told that there's a zero tolerance policy for anti-Semitic behavior in this country. We have kicked people out of this country for writing op-eds that were not anti-Semitic. They were simply supporting the Palestinian people. We were told that's a danger to national security. But hey, they're MAGA.
Observation about the South African Afrikaners. During the apartheid, they were, we are Europeans. Now that they want to remain in South Africa, in the land of milk and honey, they are like, we are Africans. And then Trump said, all European settlers from South Africa can move to the US. And now they are like, we are Europeans. I don't think they know what and who they are.
Has anyone gotten on like the farmers TikTok where they're talking about the South African farmers being brought over? So I turned 43 in a couple weeks, and in my lifetime I remember the fall of apartheid. I remember when it ended, and I remember there was the Truth and Reconciliation, I think it was committee or conference. Anyway, they televised it, and that's where people came and they testified to atrocities, and there were people who were also held accountable and had to apologize, right? If I remember correctly, there was also like court hearings as well. But these farmers that are talking about the refugee white African farmers coming to the United States aren't looking at it from the bigger picture. Like, number one, I don't think they're aware of what apartheid is. I don't think they're aware of like how brutal it was and how a lot of these particular white people want that brutality back. They want a segregation of races. That's why they're asking to come here. So I first saw this with Skylar, the farmer in Missouri who was worried about losing his farm due to a cancellation of the contracts that were made under the Biden administration and how they're not being honored under the Trump administration. So he was really worried about that situation for himself, as one would be, right? So I have nothing but sympathy in that situation. But now that things seem to be a little more resolved, he's still not looking at the bigger picture because he's talking about the South African farmers coming here and how awesome it is. He doesn't look old enough to me. I don't know how old he is, but he doesn't look old enough to remember the fall of apartheid. And honestly, I don't think most Americans do. My dad had a lot of connections to the international news desk at CNN way back then, and his best friend was a producer. So I think that's why it was something that we saw a lot of in our house. But yeah, these farmers are excited that there's going to be white refugees coming in here to like take sanctuary and help out on farms. I don't think they know that these farmers, for the most part, aren't actually farmers, and that they used slave labor. Like, they mistreated people. It's kind of like Elon Musk's family. People don't seem to understand that emerald mine was exploited labor. You know, it was stolen resources, and it was exploited labor. And that's exactly what these farmers, and they're not all farmers, by the way. A lot of them are just inner city people, Afrikaners. And there's a difference there too. Anyway, the gist of it is, they think, it seems, that they're going to have help on their farms by bringing these people over. So I think I don't want to say it for sure, but it feels like they're thinking they're going to get an exchange from undocumented labor from people of color to white legal labor that might be subsidized by the government, because under refugee status, there are some benefits that get extended. So I'm starting to wonder here, I'm starting to wonder if they know what the deal is and how detrimental this is to everybody. You know, I think that we could talk all day long to a lot of these people about the problem with race relations in South Africa, and they may not actually understand it. But I do think that if we spoke to them about possibly this labor situation and their farms, it's a system to take their farms, not to give it to South Africans, but to give it to corporations. So bringing in this labor is not actually going to save them in the long run. It's just a new segue to corporate purchase of their private farms. I have several clients from South Africa who have moved here for various reasons. Even my chiropractor is from South Africa, from Johannesburg. People don't know here that Dutch people, for the most part, it was the Dutch, who came into South Africa and brutally took over. Like, they wiped out the people who actually lived there and forced them into subservience. They stole the land. And then they made the people who were African work on these farms. They made the Africans build the cities. And then they pushed all of the people who built the cities into ghettos like Soweto. There's also the science experiments, the medical experiments that took place. They were very Tuskegee style, okay? It's very, very sad. They did it with AIDS. For example, they did experiments on pregnant women, causing pregnancy losses that were pretty devastating. And I mean, a lot of other things. They even experimented on children. The brutality of the police to this day is still very infamous. I've heard the spin from both sides, from my clients, from both sides. I tend to believe that there is no need to be a refugee from South Africa as a white person, because they still have the upper hand. And although locals are fighting back because they've been losing more and more rights recently. There's even whole cities that don't allow Africans in there. Like, you know, black Africans, they allow white Africans only. And we can't have that here. And that is what's coming. You know, we think Elon Musk is bad, and they all say, oh, that was a Roman salute. He grew up in apartheid. He supports apartheid. He thrived in apartheid. It stands to reason that Elon Musk would want apartheid here, as does the GOP. If you've made it this far, support some South African artists, if you will. Obviously, Trevor Noah is our beloved South African here in the United States. But if you like hip hop music or really good rap, there's an excellent rapper from South Africa named Youngsta CPT. I love his music. I listen to it regularly. Do not support Die Antwoord. They're bad. They're Afrikaners. We don't like them.